Sunday, everyone. Happy 10/10 portal day. Let me just pull the stream up so I don't confuse myself. Okay, awesome. Happy crown chakra day. Happy Sunday. It's a big day today, 10/10 portal day. So there's like a lot of updates I feel to share because I did not do a stream last week. The energies have been really, I don't really know how to describe them, but the energies have been very tumultuous, I feel. It was just really rough energy. I just couldn't get through it that day. And so, but there's been a lot that I feel has come through. Love you, Jana. Since then. So today is 10/10 portal. This portal is particularly like when we have the 9/9 portal, it's a lot about kind of completion in some ways, but in many ways that's not the end, right? There's never like a completion and then we're done. It's kind of just like we've closed a chapter and we're entering a new one. And that's why like the month of October and has always been like this, almost like another transitionary month where everything kind of starts again because you've closed one chapter and you've moved into another one. And so the 10/10 portal is a lot about embodiment. And so and I feel I shared this on the last stream I did 2 weeks ago where I had said that I had felt that we were entering the embodiment phase. And that the embodiment phase was going to carry us into the end of December to December 21st, 2021, which is a big mirror date from 2012. So the December 1st, 2012 was a big date where we were kind of anticipated to start entering fifth dimensional frequencies. Obviously we did not, but the planet did because mom was here in physical embodiment and she entered the fifth dimension on that day. The planet did. So I had definitely felt this embodiment phase energy coming through, that this would carry us into the end of December. I feel December 21st is going to be a huge day just because it's a mirror timeline that we're on right now from 2012. And the embodiment phase carries a lot of different things because there is a huge difference between anchoring in and embodying. And this is kind of what we've been going through the past couple of years, is that we've had moments of really bringing in our higher self or anchoring it in, so to speak. And we've had moments where we've really been able to reach those higher frequencies, but we've never been able to hold it consistently. And that's what embodiment is. It's not going through, it's not that you're never going to have fluctuations, but that you're going to be able to consistently hold a higher frequency throughout whatever's going on around you, throughout challenges. And that's why a lot of people have been put through all of those big tests and those big challenges, because it's not, once you start anchoring in the higher self, or you really start entering those higher frequencies, it's not that you never have challenges again. And there's this big misconceived perception that once you awaken and you start like living this higher vibrational life, everything is just fucking peaches and cream. And that I feel is the opposite of the truth. The truth is that you will encounter more tests and more challenges because you have to have those. You have to be able to hold a certain frequency through the tests and challenges, because when you don't have any challenges, and that's why mom always talked about comfort zones, when you're inside the comfort zone, you're gonna be minimizing your triggers, which is what we see in the collective right now. It's like everyone wants to avoid being triggered. Why? Because triggers bring up something that you have to look at, and nobody wants to do that. So we're stuck in this space where everybody's in the comfort zone. They don't want to be triggered. They don't want to feel challenged. They don't want to feel uncomfortable in any way. And so they're never going to, you will never embody that way. Comfortability will never lead you to embodiment. That's just the truth, whether we like it or we don't. And so yesterday was a really big day astrologically. So I wanted to just talk about that for a second, because so yesterday we had a big square between Pluto and Eris. And many of you may not know Eris. A lot of the asteroids that we have in our solar system are actually named after like Greek goddesses. So Eris is kind of the odd one out in terms of the asteroids. A lot of the other asteroids are hold a lot of feminine goddess qualities. So, you know, you have goddesses like Aphrodite, who's the goddess of love. You have Juno, who's the goddess of marriage. You have Vesta, who's the goddess of like fertility, and you have Pallas Athena. You have all these very feminine asteroids, right? Well, Eris is the opposite of that. Eris is chaos. And I feel that's been really demonized by a lot of people, especially like that energy that they kind of have demonized feminine in many ways. And you know, those labels, they'll always call women crazy. They'll always say they're overly emotional, they're hysteria, they're dramatic. And those are all lower vibrational frequencies. But the true higher nature of that is chaos. And chaos doesn't have to be a negative thing. What chaos is it's the void space. So when you have the unknown in creation, which is just all limitless possibilities kind of floating around in a void space in the unknown, until one of those possibilities manifests, and then it creates a timeline. So for someone who's looking into the void space and they're just seeing all these unlimited possibilities seemingly just floating around, they're not working in any linear fashion, it is perceived by the mind as chaos. But Eris's point is we have to bring up that chaos within ourselves, which looks like within ourselves and then within our experience looks disorderly. It looks chaotic. There's all these things going on. There's all these emotions coming up. You feel all over the place. If you take that from the higher perspective, what it was triggering within us is the unlimited possibilities. It is showing you all the choices that you have. It is bringing up all the frequencies you hold and all the possibilities that you have. You can continue to embody the same frequency. You can continue to have the same arguments over and over. You can continue in the same thought loop patterns. You can continue in the same behaviors. Or it's going to show you the limitless possibilities to go in a different direction. And it was squaring Pluto. And so you have Eris sparking up all this chaos, which is ultimately just all possibilities, all frequencies, everything is being shown to you at once. And then it's squaring Pluto, who is telling us you have to make a choice. You either change something and you choose a different path, or you can continue in the same manner. And ultimately, Pluto is going to give us that choice. If we continue to choose the same patterns, behaviors, thoughts, emotional frequencies, all of these things, well, Pluto will deliver. It will deliver that mirror for you in the physical. If you make a higher choice, you choose to change, you choose to switch something up, you choose to let go of something, then Pluto is going to give you that rebirth. And it's going to sometimes look tumultuous, because as we choose something new, something higher, the old has to die. That's just the way it is. So sometimes it may feel or look like you're going backwards because you feel like everything's falling apart. But that it can also be a good sign that you're choosing to move in a different direction, in a higher direction. And now the old just has to die as you go through this uncomfortable rebirthing process. So that was the energy of yesterday, but that's still carrying into today. And then the big news today is we had Pluto go direct last week on the new moon. So that was very interesting. We've had all these planets in retrograde. And when these bigger outer planets are in retrograde, like Pluto, Saturn, Uranus, these are collective planets. These are not going to affect us so much on an individual level, but they are going to affect collective consciousness very intensely. During the retrogrades, it's kind of like the energy starts we go through a lot of the inner stuff. So when these big planets or, you know, powerful planets are retrograde, it's churning up all the stuff within us that has not been looked at, especially with Pluto. And so now that Pluto is finally moving forward, it is, you know, just divine timing that then it was squaring Eris. It's like, okay, you've spent 5 months now kind of digging deep into what's going on internally, and now Eris came to stir it all up, show you everything that's still there, and then it's saying, okay, well, Pluto's direct now. Now we're moving forward, now we need to make a choice. And the collective is going to have to make a choice as well. And we're seeing how the collective is shifting and changing as people are standing up more for truth. They are choosing to leave the system. They are making these different choices because they're done. You have to come to that point where you're just done with the same lower shit day in and day out. And so Pluto direct is a great push forward for the collective. The Pandora Papers dropped on the same day, which is fascinating. And so the Pandora Papers was exposing all of the kind of money that's been hidden from humanity by the elites and by the cabal. So very interesting energetics. And today we have Saturn going direct. So Saturn has been retrograde for months now as well. It had a very long retrograde this time. And the thing with Saturn is the lesson giver. So we tend to, when Saturn is retrograde, it does feel like we're moving through the mud, which I feel is what we've all been feeling. Everything feels like you're trying to go uphill. It doesn't come easy. It doesn't come effortlessly. And that's what many of us have been feeling, this kind of like deep frustration of like, okay, you're pushing energy, you're doing the work, you're really putting in the effort to move forward on something, and it just doesn't seem like it's working. It just feels like you're moving through the mud. That was Saturn retrograde. What Saturn teaches us in retrograde is to have that grit. That even when, and this is what Mom taught us, that even when the external is not yet reflecting the work that you're putting in, it's not yet reflecting all the effort you're putting in, it's not yet giving you the results or the gifts back, the blessings yet from all the lessons and all the things, that all the energy you're expending, you just keep going. That's what Saturn teaches us, is that even in the hardest of hard times, when you feel like you're not moving a fucking inch, you just keep going. You really dig deep to find that like real deep resilience, real deep determination, and you just keep pushing. And now that Saturn is direct, I think we're going to start seeing finally those miracles and those blessings and those things coming back to us. All the seed that were planted during this retrograde will now bloom. But we had to be tested on how much grit we have, on how much determination we have, because if things start going wrong, and this is part of what I've been having to reflect on, is like when our expectations aren't being met, and that's probably one of my hardest things is expectations, because I have these very high expectations of what I feel things should be like, or what it should look like, or what I should be, embodying, or whatever the case may be, and those will inevitably disappoint you. So when things don't look the way that you think that they should look, when things aren't turning out the way you think that they should be turning out, it's how much determination do you still have to keep pushing? The universe and Mom is always going to test us on how much of that resilience that we have, because that is the true embodiment, is to keep giving it your all, no matter whether you think you're, getting back what you should be or anything like that. So I feel for those who kept going and who really passed those tests, you're going to start getting those blessings now. And in about 10 days or 8 days or so, we're going to have Mercury finally going out of retrograde. So we're going to start feeling a lot lighter towards the next week. Things hopefully will start moving forward. So I pulled some cards from my astrology deck just to see what is kind of going on. And so got really interesting cards. They're actually very similar to a session that I did yesterday, which is also quite interesting. So the first card, Capricorn. And what the message is about Capricorn, and I'll say it came out with the Pisces card, and these two cards actually came out yesterday in a session that I had. So this energy is very tied together. You have Pisces, who's full in the imagination realm, who's full in the energy, in the imagination, like basically shooting for the stars, imagining your wildest dreams, like bigger than, you know, you can kind of comprehend in the physical, to keep dreaming bigger than you even think that you can, right? And then we have Capricorn, who is the physical manifester. Capricorn is the physical manifester. So you have that Pisces energy, which is dream as big as you possibly can. But then you have to bring that in to physicality. And Capricorn does this by doing the fucking work. Of all the earth signs, Capricorn is by far the hardest working. That is the sign of Saturn. And so it's, the energy is telling us, like, we can have these big dreams, because the bigger we dream and the more that we envision, you know, new earth and these wonderful things happening, that's great. But what are you doing about it? And this was part of, like, you know, something that I want to share today, of just, new earth does not build itself. Okay? I just want everyone to really absorb that. New earth will not build itself. There will not be a solar flash and we just wake up and we're in new earth. Oh, wonderful. This is great. Nope. It's not going to happen like that. The changes are not going to happen until there is some sort of action. And what Capricorn is great at is building foundations. And this is something that Mom heavily trained me on, and I really feel very passionate about. You have to build a foundation in order for, energetically, something to come into fruition. So you have to work with both. You have to work with the energy. You have to keep clearing out the things within yourself that are limiting. This is what we're talking about in the 369 manifestation workshop right now, is you have to clear out the limiting belief systems you still have. You have to clear out the expectations that you still have, the needs, wants, and desires. And that was something that came up for me as well, that I had to reflect on, of like, am I expecting certain things, or anticipating and needing or wanting a certain outcome because that is going to give me some validation that I'm doing something correctly? Why is it that we're doing something? The likelihood is that most of the things that we do in terms of energy work and building foundations, you're not going to see a direct result. That's Saturn's lesson. You're not going to see, you're not going to do a ceremony, okay? And you're not going to do a bunch of reflections. You did a ceremony, great, you feel wonderful. Okay, I pray to manifest abundance, and then the next day you just get a windfall. It's not going to happen like that. You have to put in the work in order to really lay the foundation. And so it's important that we understand that you have to have both. You have to have those big dreams. You have to be able to use your imagination and be able to, really put out what it is you want to manifest, what you envision for the highest good for not only yourself, your own path, but for humanity as a whole. But then you have to do something about it. You have to, and if it's not like you're going to do something yourself, then work with others. Find out. That's why we have all these chats. That's why we have the transitionary government. That's why we have these meetings. That's why we spend so much time trying to bring people together. Find someone else who loves what you love. Find someone else who would like to co-create something, even just with the transitionary government. The participation. Just by participating in the meetings, or just by giving out ideas, or just by doing little things of like helping to put together a guide, helping to put together a video, helping to share the information with others. You know, I know a lot of you guys do your own streams and different things, and a lot of you are, who we've spoken to recently, are building their own businesses, and really integrating, you know, their 5D energy into that, and really like working with the angels, and you know, and it's awesome, and it's really, really awesome. But the whole thing is that yes, Mike says affirmation without action becomes delusion. That's exactly right. Like, we are in total fantasy, and there is a lot of it out there, that just because you do your daily affirmations, or just because you know, do ceremonies and you talk to the angels and you light incense and you do journaling, that somehow you're bringing 5D into physicality. That is a fantasy, and we have to be really honest with ourselves. That was the other message of that about the embodiment, was we just have to be really honest with ourselves about where we're at. You know, be really honest with ourselves. Are we being the grandest version of ourselves? For everybody, the answer will probably be no, myself included. But we have to be the ones to kind of kick our own asses. We have to be the ones to really light our own fire, because mom's not here to do it anymore. And you know, we have to be our own cheerleaders. We have to be our own motivators, our own inspirers. And if we know that we are not living up to our greatest potential, being our grandest selves, then we need to be really fucking honest about that. If we know that there are still things that we haven't changed within ourselves, that we know are still reoccurring, the same lower frequencies, the same lower loops, the same shit over and over and over, we got to get real honest with ourselves. Stop making excuses for yourself. Because that's the thing, is nobody, for most of you, nobody around you is going to light that fire for you. Even amongst ourselves in the team, we've been very, very more lackadaisical with one another, because we've had a lot to go through, and everybody is at a different phase of that process. But we have to be real fucking honest with ourselves of like, are we really in alignment right now? Are we really being the grandest thing? Are we really doing the best that we can do? Nobody's going to tell you that but you. And the ego always wants to make excuses, and always wants to validate itself, and always wants to have a justification. And to really, truly embody, you've got to be honest with yourself and admit those things to yourself that you don't necessarily want to face. Because as we keep going, and there's a lot of physical stuff happening, the vessels are being prepared. Because this next wave that's going to wake up, and thank you, Amanda, for posting that last night, that she had also gotten the message that the next wave was getting ready to wake up. And we had felt that as well, that there's a lot of, you know, the 144,000, back in 2018, mom had said that only about 30,000 was left of the 144,000. That most of them had left the planet because the vessels that they were in just weren't going to make it. Now, I don't know shit, but it has been a feeling of mine that a lot of those 144,000 essences would come back, and they would enter vessels that were now have had years to maybe awaken themselves and become a match to those essences, and you know, to that frequency. So there may be a lot of people that kind of click on all of a sudden, and we're seeing that. We're seeing people that are all of a sudden just getting it. They're just lighting up. It's like an instant wake up for them, and they're just on it. They're absorbing, they're learning, they're implementing, and they are accelerating really fast, which is awesome, because for us, it took us years to get to that point. And so we can see that trickle down, that as mom opened the pathway for us, we're now opening the pathway for others, that they can wake up instantaneously, and they can grow very quickly, and they can embody very quickly. And so we're seeing that that is possible, that can happen, that these essences may be in fact coming now into vessels. And so it can be very instantaneous. And that was one of the other cards that I got was Uranus. And Uranus is that he is, it says genius on this card, but it also is the awakener. Uranus is represented by lightning. And it is that total just flash, that flash of insight, that flash where all of a sudden you just wake up and you just start realizing what's going on. And it can be very instantaneous like that. So that card came up, sudden awakenings. And so this could be it. I don't know shit. I don't know what mom has planned. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen or what's going to happen. I can only tell you what I feel. And, you know, if you resonate with that, great. If you don't, great. That's what I feel, is that these souls are ready to come back in. The ones who had to leave the planet for various reasons. And even so, there may be a lot of people who are just in that next wave who just weren't ready before, and now they are. And I also got Mercury. And Mercury is the brain. And it is the way that we process information. So flashes of information, this can be many things. Flashes of information, it could be a big disclosure, could be a huge solar flare or frequency that enters the earth and the brains just start activating. This could be many, many things, but ultimately there is an awakening. There is an awakening, a very sudden one. Flashes of insight, flashes of higher frequencies, and there is Mercury, who is the processor, who is the one who is open to that information, who is the brain and the upper chakra centers. And then we had the earth element, which is stability. So that ties in with Capricorn. We have to stabilize this energy. We have to embody this energy. So many of you may have been feeling physical sensations, which is, very normal right now. There's a lot of information, and I've gotten really a lot of synchronistic events about this, is the root chakra, that the root chakra is activated in a higher way. Before, we had been very damaged root chakra wise. Our connection to the earth has been damaged. Our connection to groundedness, we've been ungrounded as a collective, disconnected from centeredness. We've been in fight or flight and survival, which is all about the root chakra. And ultimately, I've been reading a lot, a lot has been coming through about the Kundalini energy and things. And I don't really care so much for words. And I think too many people are attached to Kundalini awakenings and all this bullshit. And it's just unnecessary. But the point is that there is a lot of energy in the tailbone, which is why mom's tailbone was attacked so heavily. And that energy is starting to kind of blossom up. It's starting to get activated. The true essence of the root chakra, which we have not had before, is life force energy surging up. So we're not only getting information and energy from the etheric realm, which comes in through the crown, gets processed downwards, and then gets released and grounded out, but then we also have this energy, our life force energy, coming up from the root and coming up and then going out. That's the toroidal field. It's up and around and down and up and around. That is our Merkaba. That's our toroidal field. Before, it's almost like we were only getting energy this way. So it's only coming in from the etheric realm, coming down, and we had to integrate it and embody it and anchor it in. That's why we're talking about these words, anchoring and embodying. And now I feel this other part of ourselves is coming as we actually start to embody. We actually spark the awakening of the energy from the roots and push it up and out. So we're not just bringing in energy, we're also putting out energy. So that's my little demonstration for you. I feel there were upgrades to the Earth Star Chakra. Interesting that you say that, Lucy, because I've actually pulled that card from the Lemurian deck multiple times in the last week. The Star Chakra. So I feel people may have different meanings for the Star Chakra, but the one that kept coming up was... it's the 8th chakra, the one right above the crown. So I love this one here. So it's basically like this. Like if this was it, it would be like that. It's like floating right above the crown chakra, because we know for sure there's about 13 chakras, because mom had gone through activations of those and working on clearing those. So that card kept coming up, and it was that one right above the crown chakra. So I feel that's telling us that we can and we are opening up into an even higher level of connection and being able to actually communicate more with our guides and with our angels, and just with the etheric realm in general, being able to integrate more energy from those realms. Interestingly, I was watching this video that was talking about why we haven't been able to, and of course we know that there's technology that the governments have hid, that they, have communicated with galactics and things like that, but they were saying that the reason why we've only explored less than 1% of our own galaxy, not even less than 1% of the universes, just less than 1% of our own galaxy, because they said with the technology we currently have, if we were to send out a signal, it only moves at the speed of light. And so to get even 1% into the galaxy, it would take 1,000 years. And it would take 1,000 years to return that, for us to get a signal or a message back. And they said the only way that you can bypass or travel faster than the speed of light in terms of messages being sent out into the galaxies or the different dimensions, the only thing that surpasses all space and time is a conscious field. I wish I could find the video. I'll try to find the video again. But what they're talking about is plasma, and what they're talking about is telepathy. So how we all talk to our angels, or how we talk to mom, if we are in a field of consciousness, and we're talking about this higher chakra opening, and especially if you're using plasma generators, you're creating a field of consciousness in which that telepathy can be instantaneous between you and any dimension and any galactic and any universe and any galaxy. It is the only thing that can bypass space and time. So I found that fascinating as we're developing a lot, learning a lot more about how to work with the generators. And I was having a session with Jen, shout out to Jen if you see this, I love you, yesterday, and she had just gotten her new generator, and she had instantly said it opened up like this new channel of communication for her, where she was just getting so much more guidance and so just hearing more galactics and different beings coming through. And we had kind of joked, because I had always kind of saw these as a galactic telephone in some way, these pyramid generators, because the pyramid shape itself, it emits a signal and it receives a signal. So it's both a receiver and a transmitter. And that is why when mom sent out the 911 call in 2012, she sent it out through the Giza pyramids. And you can see those pictures. I always tell everyone, go look up the pictures from 2012, from December 21st, and you will see the lights above the Giza pyramids. That was the signal that mom had sent out, the 911 call. So she emitted that signal through the Giza pyramids to every higher self, to every soul on the planet. And these were actually built in ancient times. These, that's why we use the pyramid shape, because it can emit a signal and receive. It's both a transmitter as well. So we can use these technologies as a greater capacity for us to not only emit a signal, send a signal, we can also receive and transmit information better when we're using this technology consciously in that way. Let's see. Thank you guys for your comments. I love you all. Do you feel the whole 13 star chakra system is clearing a lot? I do feel that, Lucy. But I do feel that it's going to take moments. But yes, I do feel that at some point, as we get more into the embodiment phase, we will actually start being able to access those higher chakra systems. But we have to clear our own first, make sure we're mastering the 7 and that density is cleared out of the spine in order for us to be able to both transmit, because we're just like a pyramid, in order to transmit this energy coming from the root up and being able to receive energy down. I hope you guys like my synchronized swimming here. So we're very similar in that way to pyramids. So if you're having spine issues, joint pain, lower back pain, a lot of pressure, headaches could be up here, whatever you're feeling, or you're having had a lot of back spasms and things like that, that I feel is part of this like really clearing out process. So, okay, what did I cover? It's been taking like months to clear. Yes, it's definitely been taking a moment to clear. And that's why I feel that so many people are feeling this very physical process. And so it's just allowing that process. We've also been experimenting a lot with sound healing, and sound healing really being a next level to, we don't know what yet. You know, I feel we're going to have to experiment with that and play around with that, but there is definitely something, and you know, Gab's been talking about it for a while. He's been using it very much, making these new wave of generators, and so there's something very interesting and I think very relevant about sound and frequency and how this is actually going to help, and the vibration itself with opening up the chakras, clearing the density out of the body. We're just not really sure yet. Yeah, it is exciting. There's a lot going on. It is exciting. And I wanted to share, so I also pulled some regular tarot cards for this because I just felt that there was so much information that wanted to come through. My husband and I do sound baths twice a week. Oh, that's awesome. Interesting. Yeah, definitely recommend that. And singing bowls. I'm going to get my hands on some singing bowls soon because there's something about it. Okay, so the first card was the 6 of Cups, which is all about forgiving the past. And this is a theme that has come up multiple times. Forgiving the past and ultimately letting it go. You have to be able to forgive other people, events, experiences, and yourself. We truly have to start like letting all of this go. The second card was the death and rebirth. So this is very much with this Pluto, Eris energy, very much with this embodiment phase. As we go through this, there's going to be a death and rebirth as we keep making these conscious choices of like getting real with yourself, being real fucking honest with yourself about what needs to change and committing to that. You will go through the death and rebirth process as you take those leaps of faith, as you take those actions. And action is a big part. I'm going to show a video in a second that I think is really important. You're going to go through this death and rebirth process, and it's going to feel quite painful and it's going to feel quite tumultuous. Keep going. And the third card was the 9 of Cups, which is the ultimate miracles and blessings and wishes card. So it's telling us if we can let go of the past, if we can decide to change, if we can really put this into action, allow the old to die, we will get the 9 of Cups, which is all blessings fulfilled. The other 2 cards were both 4 cards. The 4 of Pentacles is about pretty much like enjoying where you are, kind of like giving yourself a pat on the back for your progress and just taking a moment to like be grateful and, you know, be in gratitude for kind of where you're at in this moment and not try to, you know, be too hard on yourself, but just be grateful for where you've come so far. And then the 4 of Wands, which was also like celebrate your journey, celebrate your progress. And then ultimately the last card was the World, which is enlightenment. It's when you reach that success. So we're on that path. We're going to get there. But I wanted to play this video. I don't usually do this, but I saw this video and I love her. So just to start with that, she is an older light worker, but I do follow her because I feel she has some great information. But she put out a video yesterday and something about it just did not sit right with me. It did not feel like truth. And it irked me in a little bit of a way. Huh?
You've been muted on Telegram.
Oh shit! Thank you. Because it ended on me, and then I had to restart it for no reason.
You probably have to mute yourself again.
Okay. So I'm gonna play this video, and then I'm gonna talk about why it didn't sit right with me. Okay, so I'll play it first, and then we'll talk about it.
Is a 3D paradigm. It is the central energy of the 3D paradigm. Competition, control, rulers, servants, government people. This is what we're facing. And what else? What is the most polarizing thing? And I'm not going to say it because I'm going to be censored if I do. What is the most polarizing thing that is happening in the world today? The you know what and the not you know what. That's polarization. It is actually being forced on us in massive amounts right now. So this is polarity. If you say, oh, I'm going to move over to 5D, just heck with all you people, you're still polarized. Now you're just separated from 3D. Here's 3D, here's 5D. And what's in the middle? A big energy gap. It's still polarity. You have to align 5D energy with your reality and then integrate it. And then what do you have? Duality, dual. It always makes me think of those pickup trucks that have, like the four wheels in the back. They look kind of like squatting frogs if you're behind them on the road. They have two tires on the left and two tires on the right. And they call them dualies. Duality, 5D, 3D, aligned, integrated, congruence. This is our ultimate goal. This is what we're working towards. And this is what is going to get us out of the really dense energy and the really heaviness that we're feeling right now. So if you have questions, you can put them in the...
Okay. So I'm going to tell you why I do not like that video. So there's a little bit of an attachment there to words. She's saying that we are basically bringing 5D in and integrating it into 3D, which is duality. Meaning we're integrating 3D and 5D into one. And so, in fact, we are actually moving into duality. All of that, all the way around, no. No. I'm sorry. I cannot say that any of that is correct. What I feel she meant was that, yes, as we're talking about, we're bringing in 5D energy, of course, and we are integrating it into our vessels, and we are anchoring it into form through our physical bodies, through our actions, through our words, through our thoughts. Yes, all of that is correct. But it's almost the same as people who say that you don't need to dissolve your ego, you need to integrate it. And I cannot allow that sort of information to be shared and not call it as bullshit. We are not integrating our egos, and you are not integrating 3D and 5D together. It's impossible. Everything 3D is opposes 5D. So it doesn't actually make any sense. 5D is the opposite of everything that is 3D. There is no integrating them, okay? There is a very slow process of transitioning from one to the other. And yes, in fact, there will be overlays between that, because there will be moments where we are embodying, we are in a fifth dimensional consciousness in moments or in a day or whatever it is. But we are not integrating the two. That is just wrong. 3D has to crumble. That is the transition phase. That is the phase where as more and more we can anchor in higher self, we can anchor in higher frequencies, the old will die at a more rapid pace. But be very clear that 5D will be absolutely nothing like 3D. yes, there will be a transition. But that idea that she's saying is so linear in thought, and it is so contradictory to what we are saying. I agree. The only thing I agreed with her with was that, yes, you can't just jump from 3D to 5D. Anybody who thinks that also is missing the point. That you can't be so disconnected from 3D, which is also what a lot of light workers have done, where they just want to be in 5D. They want to live by themselves in the jungle of Costa Rica, and they want to meditate all day and eat organic fruit and like granola bars and, you know, channel and just put out channelings once a week. I agree as well. That was the only point that I did agree with, was that you can't just try to jump into 5D without actually moving through the transition in your own life. You can't disconnect yourself so much from what's going on in 3D and the collective, because then you cannot be an example for them. So I wanted to read quickly this. I'm just reading these comments. Why would we stop at 5D? We can go to infinity. Well, you got to get to 5D first, love. Don't worry about infinity just yet. 5D might be a temporary, happier place for humanity until we completely all ascend. Okay. Just focus on one day at a time. Don't jump to Z from A. Okay? We've got to get one step at a time. Like, don't worry about the 9th dimension or the 12th dimension or the fucking 35th dimension, because we haven't even fucking hit the 5th yet. So we're kind of putting the cart before the horse there. This I'm going to read is an excerpt from Richard Rudd's book. This one is called The 64 Ways. It's in reference to the gene keys. So this was like one of the messages I wanted to share, was that we need more leaders. We need more souls who, because there's this thing that's happening, this spiritual consumerism of people who have awakened wherever they are in their journey. And they are just in the spiritual consumerism phase where they're consuming information. They are in a constant needing to learn more and more and more, but they're not actually implementing anything into their life. They're not actually making any changes in their life. Awakening is not just, oh, I'm going to just be such a high vibe person and I'm going to like, you know, and something else that she said in that live stream, which I wish that I had clipped as well, was she basically was saying to bring 5D energy into your 3D life so that you can have, she literally said, so you can have a wonderful job and a wonderful family and wonderful friends, and you can just have a wonderful life. Here's my issue with that. That is enabling everyone to, in fact, further their comfort zones. Awakening, enlightenment, these sound like really great buzzwords. Like, yeah, I'm just going to make my 3D life even greater in a 3D way. I'm going to manifest an even bigger house and more money for my family. And I'm going to go on vacations and I'm going to post about how much spirulina I drink. Like, it just frustrates me because it's not real. And I'm not saying that you have to, like, you know, you have to have the toughest of the toughest experiences. But what I'm saying is that awakening is uncomfortable. It requires you to let go of a lot of things. And there, for many of you, you've already been through those challenges. And for many of you who are just awakening, you will face those challenges. What the ego wants to do is avoid going through those experiences. It wants to say, yes, I'm awakened and I'm enlightened, and I'm just a spiritual consumer. I just read tons of information about just closure, and I just read all this information about chakras, and it's spiritual consumerism. It's just another name for egohorism, but in a spiritualistic, you know, egoic way. We have to do something about these things. And when that higher self starts coming in, you will know, because the higher self, all it wants to do is be in service to humanity. All it wants to do is evolutionize. That is all it wants to do. It does not give a flying fuck about anything to do with 3D. It wants to evolve, it wants to grow, and it wants to be in service to humanity, and it wants to be its grandest self. So you will feel that energy coming in, because all of a sudden you feel like, oh my God, I just can't do this anymore. I just can't do the same things anymore. And everybody's process then is different, of how quickly you move, of what changes you do make, of what changes may take a bit longer, and that's all okay. But the message that I was getting very strongly through is that we truly do need more leaders, more people who are truly wanting to lead. And what that means is that you surrender fully to source, to spirit. And so I wanted to read this excerpt because I think that it is really relevant for everybody. It is Gene Key 31. If you don't know if you have Gene Key 31, I highly recommend you get a DNA session with us. We can talk about it, but you can also just freely go to Richard Rudd's website. He's very brilliant. I love all of his work. And this is the gene key of leadership, and this is relevant to everyone, and I wanted to share this, that the shadow of leadership, as he's describing it, is arrogance. And he said arrogance is both insecurity, and spiritual arrogance is rooted in a deep belief system that you have found the way. And he said this is for all people who have some potential as leaders. And when we act as though we are in charge of our destiny, we will be disappointed, because the only choice we have is how we respond to our destiny. And he said, when we are trying to control our lives, we are acting arrogantly. We do have a say in the script, but we do not have a say in the storyline. When we get fixated on the highest frequencies, and we forget to bring them down into form and into the mess, as he calls it, of humanity, of the dysfunction. He said, how can you be a role model? You can point to people's eventual potential, but you can't help them practically because you can't relate to them. The spiritual mistake is to opt out by going for the higher frequencies and then being unable to integrate them into the world. And he said, you will come full circle. You will first begin the awakening process by feeling that you have no choice, that you are a victim of your own suffering, that things are just happening to you and you have no control over your life. Then you will decide that you do have a choice, and you will break out of the victimhood, and you will start carving a life for yourself. And you will then come full circle into the realization that you have no individual choice, and that the whole is choosing through you, and the only option is to surrender. And he goes on to say that true leadership is by making mistakes and failing and getting back up again. And that this is the greater the challenge that is thrown at us, our greater potential that we have. And he said, leadership sounds all very impressive, but it comes with great responsibility. Everyone wants to be a leader, but the truth is that leaders are rare. This is not everyone's calling. Leaders are forged by life. It is not something that you decide. And then there was one other part where he said, surrender is the most hardcore thing that you can do, because it demands that you drop your sense of external goodness or expectation, and you play the role that spirit is basically asking you to play. You surrender your attachments, your own goals, your own views, and the very constructs of your identity. If you try and cling to anything, that is arrogance. So I wanted to share that because it's super relevant. There was so much in there. But basically, it's that if you feel called in your soul, that is source calling you, pinging you, sending that signal. For we need more leaders, and like it said, it's not necessarily a choice. And it's never a choice. That's the funniest part about it, is nobody who is on this mission came here by, and I'll say, of course we came here by choice. We had to answer the calling. But in terms of our soul, it wasn't a choice. It was a necessity. Once our soul knew what our calling was, we were just at the whim of the divine plan. We just had to surrender to the intense and profound calling that we have. And I feel many of you are having that calling, but you are not answering it. And I have to come with this passionate energy because I feel it, and I have to speak exactly what I feel. And that so many of you are getting this calling in your soul, but you are not answering it, and you are not doing anything about it. And so Mom's message is fucking do something. Please answer the call of Source. Because if you don't, that's okay. It's not like you're going to be punished or anything. You may have a different path that you then have to take. But the call is going out. And especially because this next wave is about to wake up. So if you feel the call in your soul, do not ignore it. And if you keep sitting there being a spiritual consumer and just absorbing information, reading all you can, just taking in all the wisdom that's available to you, and then you do nothing with it, you are generating your own karma. And that's okay too. Sometimes that's the best way we're going to learn, and we're going to have an event that, wakes us up to that. So that's okay. There is no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong way to do it. All I can do is hope that someone who hears this, who has been on the edge of that breakthrough, feels that and just surrenders to it. Allow your higher self to come in. It is there. You feel the calling, but you must do something about it. You must take an action. You must take the wisdom that Mom has blessed this planet with, and we are blessed to just share what she has shared with us. But don't be a spiritual consumer who just sits there and eats it up and does nothing with it, because that is in fact going against your own soul contract, and it's going against the Source. So answer the signal, answer the call from Source, and choose to do something. That is embodiment. That is embodiment. And if you start going through those challenges and those really hard choices and those really hard decisions that you may have to make, good. And if you fail, good. And if you keep getting knocked down, good. Because if you keep getting back up again and you keep going and you choose to keep pushing through no matter what, that is embodiment, and that is how a true leader is born. That is how Mom did it. She took on every single experience. She never cried about it. She never gave up. She never said, I don't want to do this anymore. She went through every experience times 1,000. And she kept getting back up. She got back in the game. She never sat on the sidelines. She always surrendered to what her own divine plan was, to her own soul. And she said many times, I contracted for this. I have committed to doing this, and I will fulfill it. No matter what, I will fulfill my soul contract. That's the kind of grit that you have to have. And so, like I said, it may not be for everybody, and that's okay. It may, you may not be the person who is going to be at the forefront of it all. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But just be honest with yourself that that's not where you're at. And if where you are in your soul is you know that this is for you, and you know that you are being called and guided to step up into a higher level of service, and you feel it in your soul that you are supposed to be really, really leading this process, then surrender. Surrender out loud, that wherever source, mom takes you, you will go. Whatever tests or challenges your higher self places in front of you, you will move through them. That's how you get to embodiment. So thank you guys for joining. I wanted to end with just some recommendations that I had for the week. So one is a DNA activation session, as I just shared from Richard Rudd's book. A lot of the DNA activations is we do talk about your human design. We talk about what your blueprint is and how you can best embody that, the kind of tests and challenges that you're going to overcome. And the sessions are extremely activating because those parts of you that may have not been recognized before start to activate, and then you typically will have some tests and challenges to face, but that part of your essence is asking to come through. And so it's going to get activated. So I highly recommend that. And I also added a density releasing session on the site. If you guys were on the Telegram chat yesterday evening, Faith did a density clearing transmutation using the black mirror technique, and this is something that mom herself taught us and created in order to really clear out density, release trauma. And so for any of you who are feeling that buildup in your physical vessels of that density, something needs to be released, and maybe you can't move it yourself, or you're really looking for just a big flush and release of energy, and your vessel is looking for that, then I highly recommend you booking that. They are up on the site, so it will be the black mirror technique and density clearing. And then as products, I'm going to highly recommend generators to you. I know they are resource-wise, not everyone can do them, but you know what? If you put the intention out there to manifest it, because you know your soul is really going to benefit from it, I promise you, you will manifest it. It's just all about how much you care about your own evolution. This one is a new type. I think Gab will probably start doing some with these. I don't know if you can see totally because of the lights, but there are lights in it. This is the one that he made me for my birthday, so it's not for sale, sorry. But it does have lights in it, and it's a light generator. And these can be really, really used for your embodiment, guys. So if you do have one at home also, then I highly recommend you start really consciously working with these generators, asking it to bring up things within your body where it may need releasing. Also to really actively use this as a conscious field creator, that you can open up those higher chakras and you can be receiving a lot more information. You can really be expanding your connection right now to mom, to the etheric, to the galactics, to your angels. Use this to create a consciousness field. Also integrate sound if you would like. Let us know how that goes, because like I said, we really are looking for that kind of sound and vibration energy with the plasma and how that works. And so you can create a field around you using the generator and ask for it to open you up to receive information, to receive guidance. This is a mode of communication. This is a signal transmitter and receiver. So I highly recommend that. And also these amazing galaxy pyramids that Hope has made are also extremely potent as far as like receiving and transmitting energy and using them to open something up with you. So this one is the last one available of the elemental collection, which she did earth, fire, water, and air. And so this one is the earth pyramid, and it's got the galaxy and the planets inside. Really good if you really want to connect to the earthy element and open that up for you. And then this one is the newest one, and these are planet inspired. So this one is the Venus pyramid. Beautiful purple hues. We've got some really beautiful planets in here. And then down here we have all real 24 karat gold in this pyramid. So it emits a very high frequency. Venus is about abundance, love, harmony. So you can actually channel Venus or bring her energy in through this pyramid for any space that you would like it in. So those are my recommendations for the week. if you can get yourselves a generator, do it. If you don't have the resources, but you really want one, you put that energy out there and you ask your angels and you ask Mom and Source and Spirit to help you manifest that, because I promise you it will change your life and it will help you embody. And then these are beautiful for people who are looking, these crystal pyramids that Hope made to expand your consciousness, to help you open up to receiving certain energies and information that may come through, and whatever you feel guided to. She has another one she's working on, and so the planetary ones will roll out as we go. If you guys have any questions on sessions or what you feel would be a good step for you, if you feel like you want to go to the next level and you're not sure how, reach out to us. You can always message me on Telegram, RK Aurora. You can find me. I'm in all the chats. So, and then for those of you who are in the transitionary government, we will see you at the meeting in approximately 2 hours. It's going to be our big portal meeting. So if you are going to be there, we're going to go over ego programmings, ego death ceremonies, and really the powerful energy we can harness today to really start anchoring in some higher selves. So thank you guys for listening and being here. Love you.